Stephen William Hawking was one of the most remarkable scientists of the modern age. Known for his groundbreaking work on black holes and cosmology, Hawking also became a global symbol of resilience, intellectual courage, and the power of the human mind. Despite being diagnosed with a severe and debilitating motor neuron disease at a young age, he went on to reshape our understanding of the universe and inspire millions around the world. His life story is not only one of scientific brilliance, but also of determination, humor, and an unyielding desire to understand the cosmos. Early life and education. Stephen Hawking was born on January 8, 1942, in Oxford, England, exactly 300 years after the death of Galileo Galilei. His parents, Frank and Isabel Hawking, were both highly educated. His father was a medical researcher specializing in tropical diseases, and his mother was deeply interested in politics and philosophy. Although the Hawking family was not wealthy, intellectual curiosity was strongly encouraged at home. Stephen was not immediately recognized as a child prodigy. In fact, during his early school years, he was considered an average student. However, he demonstrated a natural curiosity and an exceptional ability to think logically. He enjoyed constructing model airplanes, solving complex puzzles, and developing an interest in how things worked. His classmates nicknamed him Einstein, though his grades did not initially reflect that reputation. At the age of 17, Hawking won a scholarship to study natural sciences at University College, Oxford. There, he specialized in physics. He found much of the coursework easy and admitted later that he did not study as hard as he could have. Still, his intelligence stood out, and he graduated with first-class honors in 1962. He then moved to the University of Cambridge to pursue graduate studies in cosmology, a field that was still relatively young at the time. Diagnosis and a life-changing moment. Shortly after beginning his studies at Cambridge, Hawking started noticing unusual physical symptoms. He became increasingly clumsy, had trouble walking, and occasionally slurred his speech. After a series of medical tests, he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis (ALS), a rare and incurable motor neuron disease. Doctors told him he had only 2 to 3 years to live. The diagnosis was devastating. Hawking fell into a deep depression, struggling to find meaning in continuing his work when his life seemed so short. However, his outlook began to change when he met Jane Wilde, a language student who would later become his first wife. Their relationship gave him renewed motivation and hope. Hawking decided that if he still had time, however limited, he would dedicate himself fully to his research. Ironically, once Hawking committed himself to his work, the progression of the disease slowed significantly. He outlived his prognosis by more than 50 years, defying medical expectations and becoming a living example of perseverance. Scientific breakthroughs. Stephen Hawking's scientific contributions transformed our understanding of the universe. His early work focused on the nature of space and time, particularly the origins of the universe. Collaborating with mathematician Roger Penrose, Hawking applied Einstein's theory of general relativity to demonstrate that the universe must have begun with a singularity, what we now call the Big Bang. One of Hawking's most famous discoveries came in the 1970s, when he proposed that black holes are not entirely black. According to classical physics, nothing, not even light, could escape a black hole's gravitational pull. However, Hawking showed that when quantum mechanics is taken into account, black holes can emit tiny amounts of radiation. This phenomenon, now known as Hawking radiation, suggested that black holes could slowly lose energy and eventually evaporate. This idea shocked the scientific community and opened new pathways in theoretical physics, linking quantum mechanics, thermodynamics, and general relativity. Hawking's work raised profound questions about the nature of information, the fate of matter, and the fundamental laws governing the universe. Living and working with disability. As ALS progressed, Hawking gradually lost the ability to walk, write, and eventually speak. By the late 1970s, he relied entirely on a wheelchair. In 1985, after a severe bout of pneumonia, he underwent a tracheotomy that permanently removed his ability to speak. Rather than silencing him, technology gave Hawking a new voice. He used a speech-generating device operated initially by hand and later by subtle movements of his cheek. The robotic voice produced by this device became one of his most recognizable traits. Despite the immense physical challenges he faced, Hawking continued to teach, research, and write. He became known not only for his intellect but also for his sharp wit and sense of humor. He often joked about his condition, once remarking that it allowed him to focus on theoretical physics without distractions. A Brief History of Time and Public Fame. In 1988, Hawking published A Brief History of Time, a book aimed at explaining complex ideas about the universe, such as the Big Bang, black holes, and time itself, to a general audience. While the book was famously challenging, it became an international bestseller, remaining on the Sunday Times bestseller list for over 4 years. The success of the book turned Hawking into a global celebrity. He appeared in documentaries, interviews, and even popular television shows such as The Simpsons and Star Trek: The Next Generation. Through these appearances, Hawking helped bring science into mainstream culture and inspired people who might never have considered physics exciting or accessible. Hawking believed strongly in making science understandable to everyone. He argued that curiosity about the universe is a fundamental human trait and that science belongs not only to experts but to all of humanity. Personal life and challenges. Stephen Hawking married Jane Wilde in 1965, and they had 3 children together: Robert, Lucy, and Timothy. Jane played a crucial role in supporting Stephen during the early and middle years of his illness, helping care for him while raising their family. However, the strain of Hawking's condition, combined with his growing fame, put pressure on their relationship. The couple divorced in 1995. Hawking later married one of his nurses, Elaine Mason, though that marriage also ended in divorce in 2006. Despite personal difficulties, Hawking maintained close relationships with his children and remained deeply engaged with life. He traveled extensively, lectured around the world, and even experienced weightlessness during a zero-gravity flight in 2007, fulfilling a lifelong dream. Views on humanity and the future. In his later years, Hawking became increasingly vocal about the future of humanity. He warned about the potential dangers of artificial intelligence, climate change, nuclear weapons, and uncontrolled technological development. At the same time, he was optimistic about human potential, particularly space exploration. Hawking believed that humanity's long-term survival depended on becoming a multi-planet species. He supported efforts to explore Mars and beyond, arguing that spreading out into space could protect humanity from extinction-level events on Earth. Though often portrayed as pessimistic, Hawking described himself as a realist. He believed that understanding the universe carried both responsibility and hope, and that science could guide humanity toward wiser decisions. Death and legacy. Stephen Hawking died peacefully at his home in Cambridge on March 14, 2018, Pi Day and the anniversary of Albert Einstein's birth. He was 76 years old. Tributes poured in from scientists, world leaders, and ordinary people around the globe. Hawking was remembered not only as one of the greatest theoretical physicists since Einstein, but also as a symbol of what the human mind can achieve even in the face of extreme adversity. His legacy lives on through his scientific discoveries, his books, and the countless people he inspired to look up at the stars and ask questions. Hawking showed that physical limitations do not define a person's worth or potential. His life was proof that curiosity, imagination, and determination can transcend even the most daunting obstacles. Conclusion. The story of Stephen Hawking is more than a biography of a brilliant scientist, it is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Faced with a devastating diagnosis at a young age, Hawking refused to surrender to despair. Instead, he dedicated his life to understanding the deepest mysteries of the universe and sharing that knowledge with the world. Through intellect, humor, and an unbreakable will, Stephen Hawking changed how we see black holes, time, and the cosmos itself. More importantly, he changed how we see human potential. His story reminds us that while the universe may be vast and mysterious, the power of the human mind is equally extraordinary.